Okay, it looks like everybody's inside. Good morning. For those that don't know me, I'm Jonathan Porges. I'm the market manager for the Chamber here in Boynton Beach. Thanks for attending the Boynton Beach Government Affairs Council meeting this morning. Just start off by sharing some news. As I'm sure many of you have learned, the county has implemented the mandatory facial coverings that went into effect this morning at 12:01. You can read that executive order number 12 on the county website. And I know Colin will touch just very briefly on the impacts the city that will have in the city as well. For those that haven't attended before, all of our meetings are recorded and you'll receive a YouTube link to it at the end of the presentation. Colin is going to take questions throughout the presentation, and so to do that, just please put them in the chat box below, and either myself or Colin or Rob, our chair of the Government Affairs Committee, will be monitoring that box and periodically read them and have Colin answer them. So we do ask that the chat box be reserved for questions only so that we can see those go into Colin. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob Jager, our chair of our Government Affairs Committee, who will do the introduction to Colin. Rob?
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. So Colin is our Assistant City Manager, Public Services. As an alumnus of the University of South Florida with a degree in civil engineering, Colin has been working in the public services arena for various municipal agencies for the last 30 years. He's currently the Assistant City Manager for the City of Boynton Beach in Palm Beach County. And we were just chatting a little bit, and this is going to be a fun conversation, I think. So, Colin, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, great. And we're definitely going to take questions throughout. So like Jonathan said, if you got a question, just put it in the chat and I'll try to answer it. I'm going to cover a couple topics that I think are interesting. Going to start off a little bit about, everybody's aware we're building a new downtown. We call it Town Square, but it really is more than that. It's a downtown area from about Seacrest all the way to the Marina District and everything in between. And we're finishing up the first, what we call kind of the first, really it's the second phase, because the first phase was down by the marina with all of the buildings that were built in the last boom that we had. This is kind of the second phase, which is the other anchor end, which is the west end of our downtown. And we call it Town Square, and it's the mixed use development that everybody knows about. But basically for the city, we built brand new buildings for almost every city department that we have. So we built a brand new police department building. That was on High Ridge and Gateway. That one is it's substantially complete, and the police department has moved into it or is slowly moving into it. We'll say it's not a fast move to move a police department. If you ever want to know what logistics look like, talk to me about moving a police department. But I will say the police officers, we have great officers, and they actually now believe they're getting a new building now that they're in it. So it took them 2 years to believe it, but they're in it. They believe it. But no, it's a great facility for the city, for business, for everything. It has a lot of 21st century features in it that's going to help us with the neighborhood policing. The way we want to police in the future. We've built those things into the building, so we're really excited about having that facility. And it's going to be it's the citizens' facility. There's a large community room in there to do things. There's just a lot of things in the police department that's going to help the community. It's not all about just going out and arresting people. It's more about building the community and like I heard somebody say, is keeping the peace. That's their job, peacekeepers. So just make sure everybody gets along. So we have a great building for that. We've also finished our brand new fire station downtown. So fire station number 1 is finished and it's occupied. That serves the entire downtown area. The guys love it. They've moved in. That's finished. It's a beautiful fire station building. The architects did a great job blending it into an urban setting. It's our first urban fire station, and we're going to now that we have one, we're going to build a couple more over the next 5 or 6 years to replace some of our other older stations. And our pride and joy is our cultural center. So the cultural center was the 1928 high school that was built in Boynton Beach, and we've completely remodeled it inside and out. It is finished. It's just not open yet. The reason it's not open yet is because we didn't have parking yet for it. So we didn't open the building, but we're looking forward for the public to get into that building. Again, it's going to be a great thing for the community to use, for business to use. There's a lot of space in there that people will be able to rent and use. classroom space, auditorium space, conference room space. And then, of course, the city will be providing all of their recreation programs and their art programs, dance programs, exercise programs, all of those things the community wants. So I think it's going to be a great building. And once people get inside and see it, and some people have seen some of it, some pictures we've taken through the way, but gorgeous building. It came out really nice. When you step in, you really do feel like you're stepping back in time, but in the 21st century. It's pretty cool. And then in our centerpiece is our new city hall, which is a combination of a city hall and what we call it's a library, but it's really our technology and learning center. But our city hall is not just an municipal building. It's a mixed use building. There's commercial ventures in it. There's commercial space for incubator businesses to come in, which we're going to develop a little bit differently than we thought 6 months ago. 6 months ago is going to be that open workspace and all that. And that's really not going to be the norm going forward. So but it's going to be available for businesses to come in, startups to come in, and a place to start their business, very low cost, and have the access to all the technology that's in our library system. We have a lot of technology. We have green room studios, computers, printer, a lot of technology that young, small businesses, very difficult to afford, difficult to use, and they're going to be right there with them. And also access to like David's group, economic development group, where they can help them with looking for grants, looking for things to get them started. Because the idea is to grow businesses there, start off with 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, and then they move into one of our business areas that are in the downtown. So as they grow, so it's kind of an incubator for our downtown. We're going to have a restaurant in City Hall. We're going to have events going on, concerts and things like that in City Hall. So we're looking forward to it. We are moving in. It will be open July 7th for business, although very, very limited business, as you're aware. So we're really looking forward to being able to do a grand opening and inviting everybody in. It's just going to be a while before we can do it. So we were hoping to do it July 21st. That's our centennial celebration. That's when the city is exactly 100 years old. We still may do something small then, but we just can't do a big event. So we're gonna postpone the big events, and we're gonna do a big grand opening at some point. And again, the downtown area has an amphitheater that'll be activated many nights a week, has a big green space for weekends, markets and things like that, bringing people down. And we're hoping that by bringing people downtown to do the events and things like that, they'll also use the stores and the businesses and all that. So the whole idea is economic growth downtown. So that's kind of our town square project. We're really looking forward to getting into it. The other real advantage of us moving into our new city hall is the buildings we're leasing right now have all actually been leased out to new businesses that are growing. So it's also exciting for us because, we're not just leaving space empty. We're moving out so businesses can grow where we are right now. And these are businesses that are great for the city. They're a little more, a little bit higher than the average pay scale. So they're jobs for our citizens, things like that. So we're excited about those businesses, and we've been working closely with them. And again, David Scott's group works really closely with these businesses to get them here, tell them why Boynton Beach is a great place to grow your business, and work with that. So that's kind of where we are in our downtown. Any questions on that? Well, I'm kind of watching. All right. Well, I don't see any chats yet. It might take people a while to type something. So,
hey, Colin, you want to just mention the new excitement? Is it too early to share that new project that you shared with us the other day? Just
yes.
New stuff coming.
I am going to share that in a minute. So we do have some new projects coming up that we're excited about, but I'm going to cover a couple of existing projects right now that have actually been permitted under construction, which I think are good for the city. And most of these are fairly large projects. The first one is the last section of our Renaissance, the Congress Avenue between the canal and the Congress on the east side of Congress, that whole area, the last development, which is, it's got several names. We call it Cortina 3, but I don't know what it's going to be called when it's finished. But that is actually about 70% complete. They're working hard to finish it. And then another about 400 units, residential units. And again, that will feed that business area along Congress. We're excited about that. We have a second project in a close area. It's, let's see, I'm trying to find the name of it because it does have a name. Let's see, Quantum Lakes Villas West. It's another 104 multifamily condo type buildings, and it's in Quantum Park. It's actually one of the last lots in Quantum Park to be developed. Again, for the city, it's good. It's another development. You know, we like the taxes, so hate to say that, but taxes are good for government because it helps us fund our services. We have a couple other projects, you know, that they're underway. Of course, Riverwalk, if everybody's driven by that, the Riverwalk Plaza, everything's been demolished. The foundations are going in for the towers. And so a lot of the commercial buildings are already built. They're finishing the parking lot and things like that. So that project's coming along well. We also have several new condominium projects, you know, multifamily for sale projects coming along on the north side and the south side of east of 95. That's another 200 units plus that are coming in. And again, those are good because it feeds the businesses. So, you know, everybody says, well, we need more business, but we also need the people to feed the businesses. So getting the residential development is good. So one of the exciting things we have coming up is we have several new projects that are actually in permitting. One is called Wells Landing, and it's actually in our MLK, our heart of Boynton area, which is an area that sat dormant for 25, 30 years, and we're starting to get some development right there. I don't know if anybody's talked about, we have a mixed-use development called Boynton, Hard Boynton East. Anyways, Ocean Breeze East. That's what it's called. Try to find the name of it, but it's under construction, about 50% complete, and it's a mixture of low-income residential, not Section 8, but low-income residential units plus some commercial units. Just north of there is what was called Wells Landing, and again, it's another residential mixed use with commercial in that area that right now has no businesses. So we're hoping to bring in, you know, it's a food desert, hoping to bring in some grocery stores, some, you know, medical clinics, things like that, things that area needs. And it's going to, what we're seeing is expanded development in that whole area because there's available land and people need the businesses and there's people there to use them. So we're pretty excited about seeing that development happen. We also have a couple of the mixed use developments downtown, right in our downtown area along our corridor being submitted. These are mixed use where they're residential and commercial uses. We've actually have 4 projects that are in the pre-submittal progress with about a total of about 1,800 or maybe 2,200 units and probably 100,000, 150,000 square feet of office, retail, that kind of thing. So we're excited that seeing people are still willing to fund those projects and build them. So we think the market is there for them. But what we are seeing is a change in what people want to build, which we kind of expected. And what we're seeing is a push for more, for smaller office space, smaller retail space, and then more live workspace. So larger live workspace is what we're seeing is a push for, we were talking actually before this meeting that, you know, when you move into a condo or an apartment in a downtown area, they're generally 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. You don't have a lot of space to work in your apartment because they're just not set up for that. But the new developers we're seeing coming in is we see developers actually designing units that have workspace in the unit. It's actually official workspace that you can go into and work from your house because we think there's a big push for that. We're seeing companies that, you know, are actually lowering their office space use and moving their employees to telecommuting and teleworking. And really that's just in the last 3 or 4 years, the technology's allowed us to do that. I mean, you know, we could always kind of do it, but the technology really wasn't there. We're now seeing it where we can measure performance and that. And even the city, we're looking at that is moving people to telecommuting as long as you're getting the performance and you're getting the work finished. So we're seeing a push on these new mixed use developments of a little bit different type of units, different densities. And the other thing they're pushing for is more green space in the downtown. So instead of so one of the things we're doing is we're allowing the heights to go up because then it allows more green space. So instead of keeping things at 3 stories and filling up the entire lot, let them go 6 or 7 stories and fill up half the lot. The rest being maybe some green space and things like that, because that's what people they want, and that's what the developers want. So right now we have 4 major projects downtown that are mixed use that are in that pre-app, and then we have 4 that are outside that downtown area that are in the city. These are mostly on lands that are going to be redeveloped. These are underutilized properties that have been purchased and assembled. And then we also have a couple of really interesting workforce housing projects that are coming in, because that's the other problem we have is, again, like every South Florida city is, you have to have a workforce and they have to be able to afford it. Your police officers, your firefighters, your school teachers, your office workers, all of these people, they're middle class, but they can't afford a house. They can't afford the housing needed to raise their family and have that. So we've got several projects coming in that are pretty innovative in a way to provide that workforce housing and without major subsidies, because one way government does it is subsidize. The city's looking at ways to do it through incentives and things like that. So it actually lowers the cost of construction. And how do you lower the cost of construction to make them affordable? So that's some of the things we're working on. So that's kind of where we are and what's coming up. Again, a lot of activity in Boynton Beach, a lot of commercial activity. We have 5 or 6, this emergency that we've gone through, we have loss of businesses in Boynton Beach. There's been businesses that have closed. What we've noticed is it's more of the national brands that have simply either they were underperforming already and just said, hey, this is a good reason just to close these, or they just simply were starting up and just couldn't make it through the time. But what's exciting is we're getting more and more interest in these spaces for other businesses to move in. So we do think not too long term that we're going to see a pretty major recovery and get back to where we almost had no space available for businesses. I mean, David can say that too, that we were struggling trying to find space for businesses to relocate here. We have several larger national companies that have come into Boynton Beach looking for very specific uses that we're real proud of, and we've helped them find those spaces, and we've worked with them to develop what they needed to make it work for them. So we're kind of excited, even though we saw the downturn and we see the businesses closing, we're also now seeing new businesses coming in and filling those up. And we've got the applications, and these are real things as their applications are coming in to remodel buildings, to add space, to change the way the parking's done, and just to change the way so these businesses can be successful. So that was any questions on that kind of development? I guess I'll stop there. Unmute or whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I have a question, if I may. Been driving me crazy. Corner of Congress and Woolbright, the northeast corner, which is their development. What are they developing there?
That is a Wawa.
Okay.
Yes, that's a Wawa, and we were excited about the development. It just the county slowed them down. This is one of the things where there are some things the county controls within the cities, and one of them is their county roads, which Woolbright's a county road and Congress is a county road, and they held them up on the transportation issues. It took them a long time to develop a plan that the county would sign off on. The city was actually very satisfied with their design. We felt like it met all traffic requirements and all that. The county did not. So it took them a while. So that's why it's been a long time. But I think what you're going to see in the next 3 months, it'll be up and open. They're going quickly now. That is one of the challenges in the city is, working with the county. So we're hoping that gets better. And we are trying to develop those relationships every day. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
All right, and then I got a question on the Boynton Beach Mall. So the Boynton Beach Mall has come in for a master site plan for redevelopment. It's been through the first hearing. The challenge the mall has is there's multiple owners, and there's some legal issues that they have to get through to redevelop, which is unfortunate because it's prime for redevelopment, and I think most people want to do it. But unfortunately, it can take one business can hold it up for everybody else. And so they're struggling a little bit with that, but they're working through it. So the city has actually picked up the rezoning, and it's going to be city-initiated rezoning and land use for the mall. So we're getting that in place. Actually, last commission meeting, I believe, that rezoning and land use change was completed. So the mall is ready for that redevelopment. There is a master plan out there. They're waiting to do the final submittal. Once that's submitted, it's a phased master plan. It has like 6 phases. We're hoping to see phase 1, phase 2 come in fairly quickly, which is the north end of the mall. Because the south end is still fairly active. The north end, where Sears was and all that, is gone, is dead. We're hoping to see some activity on that very, very quickly. But again, retail sales has taken a hit. So, the retail portion of it is struggling. So again, it's looking at the mall and how do you redevelop a mall to meet the modern demands? So it's going to be a lot more residential with smaller workspaces, so companies can relocate into that area. Maybe they have 40,000 square feet of office space now, and they want to do 10,000, and they can get that 10,000 there, and then their employees have places to live around there. So we're looking at a master plan that includes mixed-use development, includes both workforce housing and a little bit more luxury housing. So you have kind of a mix in there. So we're still excited about it. We wish it would move a little bit faster, but we understand the issues that they're facing, and I think everybody that's involved wants to move forward. It's just getting all the ducks in the row to make it happen. So hopefully that answered that question. All right, so I don't see any others.
Well, Colin, I'll hop in here with a question.
Okay.
I know in previous presentations, Lori and David have talked about the grants that were awarded to the businesses within the CRA districts in the city. I know that there's some money from the CARES Act through Palm Beach County. Is there anything you want to elaborate as far as the grants go within the city?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked that question. We have done, the city's done several grant programs already. We had the Entrepreneur Business Incubator grants we've done the small business loans, and then the CRA have done almost $1 million of grants for businesses within the CRA district. The city did receive funds from the CDBG CARES Act, and they were fairly restrictive on the way they went out, but really what they were for was for small businesses. So the city has created CARES Act Small Business Grant Program, and really it's for small businesses, 25 or fewer employees that are located within the city. They're eligible up to $10,000, and it's used for salaries, utilities, the expenses to keep the business open. I think for us, it's exciting because a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of sole proprietors didn't qualify for some of these other grants that were out there. So they didn't have an opportunity to get them. And this grant program is actually set up for people like that. People that may be sole proprietors or maybe very small businesses, 1 or 2 employees, and they just need a little bit of help to get through this, and then they'll be very successful. So that actually opens June 26th, which is tomorrow. There's an online application. We have a $300,000, and we're doing up to $10,000 grants, so 30 to 35 businesses. So it's, again, you got to get your application in, because it is first come, first serve. And it's also, if you have received other grants, you're not eligible for this grant. So this grant is for companies and businesses and entrepreneurs who have not received other grant money because they didn't qualify for one reason or another. So we're excited about announcing it. I think it's a great program. It's going to help some of the small businesses keep going and grow. Because again, you help the guy that's working on his own, eventually he's going to hire some employees, and he's going to hire people, and he's going to grow in the city and stay in the city. So we're excited about that grant program coming up.
Sorry, Colin, and they can find that information on the city website under David's department, or just?
Yeah, if you go to the city website, it's on the homepage. You'll find a link that'll go right to it. Yeah. Yes. And we do want to spread the word. Again, it's limited, so it is first come, first serve, but 30, 35, it's 10,000. So maybe 30 if everybody does 10,000, but there may be some that are less than that. So it may go a little bit higher than that on businesses.
Jonathan, we could, we're sending that information out on our newsletter, so we'll get that over to you so you can push it out also.
Great. And I'll just say, I'm very proud of this city. We were probably like the second municipality, I think, in Palm Beach County to offer a program, not only one program, but now I think we're up to 3 programs. So really proud of our city here for stepping up for small business.
It's the lifeblood of the city. You got to keep people. I mean, Boynton Beach is unique to most of our business is small business, and we want them to grow in our city. We don't want them to have to leave our city. We want them to grow in our city. We want their workforce to be in the city. It helps everybody. I think long term, it improves everybody's quality of life if you can work and live and play in the same area where you're not having to get in your car and drive an hour every day. So we are
Colin?
excited about all of these programs coming together into one direction. So the last thing I was going to cover real quick is some of the future things we're looking at, because the business world is changing a little bit, the way people work. And so we have to keep our regulations up to date. And I'm proud to work for the city, because we have a city commission that's very supportive of very quickly moving through and changing things that need to be changed to make the business market work. So we're looking at some changes to, since people now are working at home, what regulations need to be in place to help those businesses that are working from home, the home occupation businesses. So we're looking at some changes to our LDRs for home occupation. One of the changes we're looking at is to allow, if you're a sole proprietor and you have one employee, that employee can actually work in your home also. So, you don't have, it's just not yourself, because right now you're not really allowed to do that. So we're looking at some other changes too that'll help these home business. Now, again, they have to be compatible with the neighborhood. So you can't have a business have 15 employees in your house. So we're not going to allow that, but just a little bit of flexibility so you can have a business in your home and start to grow it a little bit, and then get into the business community, which is where we want people to go. And again, like we talked about in our mixed use, we're looking forward to bringing some changes to our LDRs forward that'll both help a little bit more flexibility in how you build some of these units to the different environment that we're seeing, the more live work areas, the residential units that allow a workspace in the unit and built in there, and how does that fit, and how do those regulations work? So those are the things we're doing for the future, and again, it's great. Our elected officials are really pushing us to find ways to help businesses grow in this city, which is, it's a great place to be. So with
Hey, Colin,
that,
I have a question for you too. You talk about having more, bringing in more business from other areas and so forth. I mean, we're recording this. This is going to go out there. Plus, you've got people here who know a lot of different people in and around the county, even around the state. Are there types of businesses that you guys are looking for or want to be connected to try to attract a secondary or a headquarter location in Boynton Beach at all? Are you doing any of that kind of thing? Is there a list of types of businesses, or?
we do have some businesses that we're trying to target. It's in our, we have some expedited permitting things we can do and things like that for these targeted businesses. And they're in the, since we do have Baptist South, using the new name, which is a very, very good hospital system. And so we want to build on that we have in our city, and build in the medical community, the medical type businesses. That's one of the businesses we've attracted, is a medical business. They're going to grow to 800 employees, which is unheard of in Boynton Beach. We don't have the big corporate businesses in Boynton Beach. We don't have the space for it. Even if we wanted it, we would not have the space for it. So you're absolutely right. We're trying to attract the small to medium-sized businesses that want a secondary headquarters, or they're a growing business and they need to be in a place where it's a very competitive business environment. Things we offer, we have very low utility rates. We have very good transportation. We have great location between some larger cities, but you don't get the large city feel. So we have a lot of things that are attractive for these sites. So it's really the medical business. Of course, everybody tries to attract tech businesses. And for us, it's the service businesses, electrical contractors, plumbing contractors. If you can come in and grow, we've had several local contractors now that are now regional contractors. We've helped them grow through our Building Wealth program. And we love having our local contractors grow, because they're going to be hiring people from our local neighborhoods and our local. So, and then they're going out and taking money from other people and bringing it back to the city and spending it here. So it's a good way to bring money back into the city if you can grow your local businesses. So we do target, like I said, the medical, the technical, and those areas, but we really are targeting small to medium businesses that want to come into a city it's an attractive place to live. It's a safe place to live. It's got good quality of life, lots of parks, lots of open space. So your employees can be happy. And then the employees can find affordable housing, workforce housing level cost. And you have a competitive business environment, because we try to make our regulations work for business. Not saying you can just do anything you want. You have to be compatible. But at the same point, is we want to be as flexible as possible to help businesses grow. So that's kind of where we're going with that.
I would say absolutely, Rob. What we're seeing is that, just as Colin said, a lot of the medical has been coming. A lot of the doctors have been expanding their businesses and looking at regional partnerships where they're bringing others in to their practice, where they're expanding in their locations. We are also seeing a lot of the smaller, as Colin mentioned, a lot of smaller headquarters, like a small tech company that you wouldn't even know it's there, but it becomes their regional headquarters. So they may have, 50 to 100 employees that just quietly close the doors and they do their thing. So we're seeing a lot of that around the city also. This year, we are putting forward a request for a economic development study similar to the one that West Palm did to identify those market sectors where we should be focusing and what those companies are we should be attracting. It's especially important to us, post-COVID, as we're coming out, as businesses are changing, the markets are changing, the industries are changing. What does that look like, and where should we be positioned to be successful going forward? So stay tuned. That should be, hopefully, we'll get something together and get something on the street if the budget once, and if the budget is improved for that, and expect to have a report next year that will help us.
And then second to that, I think also it would be the question of how are you, or how is the city marketing to those organizations? Because to me, this is if your target, I give this as an example, there was a real estate company that we worked with who wanted to target a specific group. We shot a video for them, but they specifically emailed that particular message to, I think it was 150 organizations that they thought they could bring to this particular building that would fit their size, their look, their feel, their whole thing. And they actually filled the building in very little time because the video showed them what it looked like, but more importantly, they were targeted and they knew exactly who those people were. So how do you guys market to those people that are out of the area? And are you looking for people out of the area? Or are you just looking for people that are here who are trying to grow and expand?
Well, that's a great question. I think the first way is actually meeting with the chamber and working with the chamber, because everybody here that's on this phone call or this meeting, you have contacts and the city, and we want to give you the information that you're able to go out and target businesses to come in the city, because it helps everybody. It doesn't just help one group, it helps everybody as we bring businesses in. So I think that's the first way, is really making sure that the information we have gets to the right people. Government, we have our economic development group, which is David Scott leads. I mean, we've put the funds into that to do those kind of things. But government is not, we're not a marketing company. We're a service provider, so we're not marketing. So what we really need to do is partner with the chamber, partner with other groups, and saying, here's what we have, here's what we can do, here's what our utility rates look like, here's what our road systems, here's what our capital improvement plans, here's the kind of technology and business services we offer, and here's the regulations we do. Here's what we're setting up to do. And then when these businesses, and we do get leads, so it's not like we're not, we get them through the chamber and through other things, through the business development groups. We then go and say, what can we do to help you relocate here? And again, the one David was talking about, it's going to future be 800 employees. They came in, and it actually came through a broker who said, this company is interested in coming here. They want to make you a regional headquarters, but they need help. Here's what they need. And we found what they need, and we found a way to solve it, and we solved it, and they're here, and they're growing. So that's how we do it. We get the word, but we have to get the word out. And that's why these meetings are really important to spread that. Would I love to do direct marketing? Absolutely. It would be great to do targeted marketing. As we have time and funds, but generally in local government, and I know we have a couple of people on the phone that know this, is we're a little bit challenged with funding, because we're a service provider, and the services are growing, and the revenue is not growing at the same speed as services. So we spend a lot of time finding ways to deliver those services more efficiently, because we have to. A little bit different than state and federal government, because federal government, they just print more money. State, it's a big enough pot that they can rob Peter, pay Paul. In local government, it's all service based, and as people demand the services, you have to fund it. And you have to fund it out of the limited funds that come in, and you can't make yourself non-competitive by just raising taxes or raising fees, because you become non-competitive. So you have to balance that. So we spend our time a lot of times with people like y'all, and that's what we want to do. We want to spend time with the groups that are out there bringing in the businesses, because that's how they make their living, and that's how they increase their income, is by bringing these businesses in. So that, to me, is the better way for us to target. Do we have videos and things about the city? Absolutely. Will we make more? Yes, we'll keep making more. But I think working with partnerships with the chamber and with other groups is the best way for us to market.
One good thing, Rob, that's interesting, and Roz can attest to this. At one of our business over coffee, because we're virtual, we actually had a broker out of New York join the call. I don't know if you were on that meeting,
Wow.
but they were just searching for places to invest, and they saw business over coffee, so they joined and heard from businesses, as Colin said, businesses like you. I didn't have to talk about Boynton. The people on the call talked about how great it was to do business in Boynton. So our businesses actually sold Boynton to this broker out of New York that was looking for places for his clients. So that's how we get the word out. And the virtual platform has allowed us a new way and method to get the word out.
Interesting.
All right.
Any other questions?
We'll take any question.
Well, I know it's an investment of time and energy and money to try to promote the business, and I get that, and it takes a lot of work to do it. I do appreciate all the things that the city is doing and continues to do to make it a better place. I mean, I obviously live there, and you can see the efforts that go into it, and when you see stuff changing and it's constantly changing for the better, it's not going the wrong way. So I do appreciate that. Any other questions? We want to make sure that we have everybody have enough time. We've got a couple more minutes here, but otherwise I want to make sure if there's not.
Well, if I could just ask Colin, there's a couple of things that he certainly could touch on that would be very interesting. It's always softball, Colin, so don't worry. No, Colin's always got it. But we relaxed the code for COVID so that, for people to allow sidewalk dining and other things. So if you would just touch on that and all of the improvements that are happening over in development to help permits get through quicker. I'm just so proud of Boynton because we are a development friendly city and a business friendly city. So some of the things you don't see, Colin and the development team and the code, not the code team, but the permitting team are really working to move permits through and get them approved quicker, so we can get buildings up quicker. So Colin, if you could just touch on that.
And it's a challenge, regulations are regulations, and I don't like to call ourselves developer friendly. We're people friendly, and people need jobs, and people have businesses, and so we want to be people friendly. We want to make sure government is not a burden on businesses. We need to be a service provider. We need to be, and I'm really proud to work for our elected officials because they tell us this all the time. This city wants to be the city that says, we want you to be successful. So what can we do to help you be successful? Got to have rules. And so development is a list of rules. That's what they do. They enforce rules. But, we've tried to write our rules so they're flexible. We are improving our permitting system. We are working on a lot of things to speed up the amount of time it takes to come in. There's some things you just can't speed up, but we're doing the best we can to get a project in and get it out the door as quickly as possible because time is money. So you can come into the city and you want to do something and you can be open fairly quickly. So you're not waiting for a cycle. You're not waiting for somebody to check a checklist. So we are making some big improvements in our development services to provide those services. One thing being in our new building when we get in, that's going to tremendously help because we have the space to serve people. We have the ability to do a little bit better job. We're moving almost everything online. It's not as easy as it sounds. It would be nice if one company offered everything, but it doesn't work that way. So, but we're slowly moving all of our services online. One of the things we do is if you're a business coming in and it fits our targeted businesses, the city manager's office puts somebody on that team to make sure that project gets through the system very quickly. So David or myself or somebody like that makes sure that if there's an issue that comes up, we solve it very quickly and we get it through the system. We're seeing a lot of success there because we're getting businesses open faster. and getting things built faster. So again, I know a lot of people say, well, you're developer friendly. What we are is people friendly. And that's what we want to be. We want to make sure we're not a burden. Nothing we do is a burden on somebody to grow their business. Still need rules. You can't just, it's not the Wild Wild West. You got to have rules. It's a very dense society. So we have to have rules to make sure everybody's rights are protected. But at the same time, we need to make those rules work for everybody. So we're constantly, if you notice our commission, if you ever watch our commission agendas, there's rules. We have LDR regulations on almost every commission where we're changing things, we're modifying things. And some government people would say that's a bad thing because you're making, to me, it's a good thing. We're flexible and nimble, and we make changes as the market demands those changes to make the projects work. So, yeah, so we are proud of that and some of the things we're doing. And can we get better? Absolutely. We work every day to get better. I'd love to be able to say, hey, you can come in town and in 1 week you can start building your building. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'd love to do it. So our goal is always perfection. We're not going to reach there, but we're going to get close. So, all right.
All right. Well, thank you, Colin. I really appreciate your time. I know that there was a lot of good information you shared, and again, a lot of good stuff happening all the time. So, Jonathan, any last words you want to make? You're on mute.
There we go. Sorry. I want to echo your comments and thank Colin for joining us. I'll tell you, all my years of being in this position, the city has been a great partner to us, and the whole team at the city, the leadership, has been very accommodating to businesses that have come in, and really have sat down and worked with them. As you've mentioned, people friendly, I think, is the best term I've heard used so far. So thank you for all you guys do, especially during this pandemic. And thank you for spending some time with us this morning. I do want to mention tomorrow morning, for any of our female listeners, we have our Women's Business Council that starts at 8:30 tomorrow. And that will be available. You can find that on our chamber page. You can register for that event. Also remind everybody, if you haven't done so, please download our app. It's available through the Android store or the Apple store. You receive push notifications of breaking news. You can register for events much quicker through that app. And again, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Thank you, Colin, and thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, guys.